Good morning, this is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Friday, the 22nd of August. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com and is published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, obviously, we're finding support at the monthly pivot so far on, yes, we have no buy signals here on any of these indices, and we're at an inflection point here. Now, we've got Jackson Hole with the Fed today. There seems to be a lot of expectation that we're going to see a rate cut in September. I'm a bit doubtful about that after the awful inflation numbers last week, but yeah, maybe. We will see how they go. Certainly, there's enough political pressure for a rate cut. No question about that. We will see how that goes, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if this was unexpectedly hawkish. And given the fragile nature of the market here, and given this is very clearly an inflection point, and even more clearly an inflection point on crypto, I read a post about that this morning, then I'm thinking we might well see a breakdown from here today. But if we don't, then I'd be looking for a retest of these highs. NQ, testing the monthly pivot rather more aggressively than ES, but so far it is more or less holding. Certainly hasn't been converted to resistance yet. On the RTY chart, we have a possible bull flag forming here, and if so, that is starting to break up. On YM, we've got a possible bull flag here too. Neither of these bull flags is high quality. We don't have any decent support trend lines here, really, but they're both still in play, and this could obviously break up into a retest of the high. DAX, possible bull flag breaking up, and ESTX, we had a little level top breakdown here, and that's almost failed back up into the high, but we do have a larger potential double top or part formed head and shoulder set up here. So keeping an open mind here, we're clearly at an inflection point, and really, we get a decision today, and it's going to break one way or the other. If we break up, then we likely go back and retest all the recent highs. If we break down, then, well, the obvious target on the ES would be this area here, which would be in about the 62.45 area. All right, looking at the setups on the smaller. Well, on the hourly charts. Okay, SPX, obviously, we're still on this, the hard lines of the current pattern setup. This was a speculative trend line if we made it back to this trend line here, which we haven't. RSI 5, we don't have any hourly sell signals. Sorry, I haven't updated these. I'll update them on the weekend. But obviously, the RSI 14 sell signal made target, the RSI 5 sell signal made target. On the keys, we didn't have any sell signals, but we haven't got any positive divergence either. Dire, we've still got an open RSI 14 sell signal. The double top that I was looking at yesterday has almost made target here, and we did actually get pretty close to a test of the daily middle band. So we still got the open target below, and we still haven't made it quite to the rising support, but we will see today. IWM, no positive divergence here either, so I don't have any buy signals or buy signals fixed or growing on any of the hourly charts on futures or on the US indices, which, if we had more buy signals, then that would be more encouraging. I'm thinking this might well break down here, and that may well be the reason we haven't got any buy signals. We will see. IWM, we haven't got down to the rising support here, but I think the main action has been happening on the daily middle bands. So let's have a look at those. On Dire, we almost made it down to a test of the daily middle band yesterday. I've got that 444.84, and we got down to 445.88. Not quite a full test, but pretty close. Looking at, hang on one second, just have a look at the. Yeah, we didn't make it down to a retest of that support trend line. Looking at the Qs, Qs have been down below the daily middle band for a couple of days, but it's not really been joined by any of the others. SPX closed on the band yesterday. We had a close at 63.70 with, arguably that is a slight break. It's 11 points below. 11 points isn't what it used to be when we were down in the 3,000, 4,000 area, of course. But we've got a slight break below, but it's not a strong break. What we could see today, if Jackson Hole does go badly, is a strong break opening up the next set of targets. So we shall see. Looking at IWM. IWM on the daily chart, we've seen a almost test of the daily middle band and a fairly strong rejection from that so far. Nothing definitive, but at the moment that is holding. SPX is more or less holding. Dow is holding. It's only QQQ which is broken down below the daily middle bands at the moment. We will see how that develops. What are the topping patterns looking at? Well, let's go back to the hourly charts for that. And hang on 1 second. Right, IWM. We don't have anything short term, and this looks rather like a bull flag forming. Bigger picture, obviously we've got a possible double top or head and shoulder, part formed head and shoulder pattern here. And if we do see a breakdown, I'd be looking towards a test of this neckline here in the 21234 area. Looking at SPX, SPX has again a part formed head and shoulders setup or an asymmetric double top setup, just like IWM. And if we see a breakdown here, holding the 200 DMA so far on the, our moving average, if we see a breakdown here, I'd be looking for a test of the possible head and shoulder neckline or double top support in the 6212 area. Looking at the Qs, Qs again, we haven't really got a topping pattern here apart from the main pattern, which obviously is a part formed head and shoulders. We've got what could be regarded as a head and shoulders here, but given that there's a prior high just significantly above that right shoulder high, I don't think that is valid. If we are going to form a head and shoulders here, I'd be looking. We could be forming a right shoulder here now, actually, ideal high in the 574 area, but I'd be looking for a test of the daily middle band, of the possible head and shoulder neckline in the 55168 area. Looking at Dia, beautiful double top setup. Large double top setup here, and if we see a breakdown below this rising support, which hasn't broken yet, then I'd be looking for a test of the double top support in the 43314 area. So those are the larger topping patterns here. They are nice. Pretty nice setups here, although I'd be looking potentially for a couple of right shoulders to form, and we will see how they go. But those only really come into play if we see a breakdown today, which, as I said, I'm thinking we might well, but as with any inflection point, we watch, we wait, and we see which way it's going to break. Mostly that's going to be about Jackson Hole today. All right, DX. DX, we've seen a break back over the monthly pivot. Has this got legs to the upside? Well, actually, I'm thinking it might. UUSD, this is possibly a double top breaking down or a head and shoulder forming, but that, if it continues, would be bearish. GBP USD no longer looks like a flag, and this has reached possible head and shoulder neckline. We could be starting to see a right shoulder bounce, and that, if it continues and breaks down, would be bearish. USD that would be bearish, obviously, for GBP and Euro and bullish for the dollar. USD JPY, obviously, is positively correlated with the dollar, and we've got a possible level top breaking up here with a target at a retest of this high. And that would be bullish for the dollar again. USD CAD, we've got a possible double top here, but again, it looks like we might be breaking up from it, breaking up further from that, and if we continue to do that, obviously that would be bullish for the dollar. So waiting to see. We've got, at the moment, there is a preponderance of the signals which is suggesting higher here on the dollar, and I wouldn't be astonished to see that. Could that be reversed if we don't get any sign of a rate cut? Well, actually, no. I think the dollar would probably be stronger if we don't see a rate cut. So we'll see how that goes. ZB, we've got nice looking bull flags here on ZB and ZN. I'm setting up retest this high. Would this be strengthened if we weren't seeing a prospect of a rate cut? Yeah, it would. This has me leaning against a rate cut, and towards the bonds going up. CL, we've got a little IHS here, which is broken up with a target in the 65 area. I'm not currently seeing any particular reason to think that we'll make target. Obviously, we are overdue a bounce. HO is reaching declining resistance, and that's holding so far. We've still got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, although that did almost fail at the high yesterday. RBOB, we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed, and we are testing the monthly pivot, and we've made this double bottom target. So I've now called that as delivered. NG is potentially bottoming out here. We do have still a 4 to 6 week window where we could do some significant damage to the downside, and I'm still thinking that might happen. No significant breakup here so far. Still open to the downside if we can manage it. If we were to make this original trend line here, which would still be the main support trend line I'd be looking at, then that could get us down into about the 2.45 area, and I do have a trend line there. GC, this IHS is not looking as though it's breaking up at the moment, but we are at the ideal right shoulder low for it. So maybe waiting to see. It looks starting to look a little messy. If we are going to see a breakup from here, I'd really like to see it sooner rather than later. I'm quite liking it. 60-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. SI. Liking the upside here, I would like to see a hold the monthly pivot of support as at 37.56. PA, we've got a nice looking falling wedge here, and that is starting to break up. I'd be looking for a bottoming pattern to form here. Platinum, we've still got an open target below at a retest of this low here in about the 1270 area. HG, we've still got this bear flag having broken down like we have on platinum, and I'm looking for a target basically to retest this low. I've drawn the white line to show that target. Right, let's have a look at KC. KC has now pretty much made the target at 370. So that delivered very nicely. Possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, and quite often, of course, we see reversals at when we make targets. So there's not a bad setup for that reversal here. SB. SB, we could still be looking at an IHS here, and we have reached the ideal right shoulder low for it, pretty much. So wondering about that. We will see how that goes. Actually, the right shoulder low would be a bit higher than that, but still looking potentially at it. But again, as with the last one we had forming here, if it's going to break up, it needs to be soon. Looking at CC. CC, I am wondering now, if we see a breaking conversion of the monthly pivot as resistance, then it may be that this IHS is just going to fail back into the lows. I've got the right shoulder low in about the 6300, 6325 area. If we see a break below that, then this IHS will have failed. Looking at CT, I'm still liking this double bottom here, and this looks like a little double bottom formed here that could get us back on track to heading up towards these targets in the 69.10 to 69.60 area. Lumber, nice little rally as expected. Watching the possible IHS neckline at about the 619 area. ZW, possible double bottom setup or part formed IHS, weak 6-minute sell signal is fixed. Hasn't made target yet. Corn, no current divergence. We are breaking up from a possible asymmetric double bottom here or heading up towards this IHS neckline. Waiting to see. It's not a really crystallized bottoming setup here, not a high quality one anyway, but watching it with interest. Soy, we had a triangle form, we went back, we retested the high. Possible double top setup here, could just continue higher. On ZL, we had a possible double bottom here, and that's broken up with a target in the 55.5 to 55.85 area. But obviously we've got resistance at the monthly pivot at 54.78, and that could hold. No current negative divergence, but we could set some up with a retest of this little high here. On live cattle, continuing higher at the moment. HE, we've still got a possible bear flag breaking down, and watching that carefully. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at questions. Yeah, you have a great weekend too, mate. It's and it's going to be an interesting day. I think I'm very interested to see what the Fed has to say today. So, all right, great. Have a brilliant weekend. I'll catch everyone on Monday. Everyone, take care.